Hey guys, it's Joe here, welcome back to my channel, and we are on to part 3 of my favorite rainbow bookshelf color. In today's video, we are covering the color green, and I have a total of 5 books for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first book I have here is The Maze Runner, and this was my OG first bought book I've ever bought with my own money. This was the first book on this big ass bookshelf. The first one. Okay, the first one. And I never knew I loved dystopian subject until I read this. I believe at this time I watched, I think the first Hunger Games, maybe the second and the first Divergent when I read this. So I was very into the genre of movies, books, whatever. I'm a very big dystopian buff. At least these are my main 3 was The Maze Runner, Divergent, and the Hunger Games. As you can see, it was a very short book. I remember I read it on the way down to Florida. I have great memories with this one, and this is why it is very high up on my favorites list. So that is the reason why it is the first green favorite book of the video. The second green book I'm extremely excited to share with you guys because this is probably one of my top favorite authors, and it is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. As you guys all know, if you are a normal to my channel, I love this author. I love her books, and I could not really shut up about them. So this is obviously the first book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. You guys saw the 4th book in the last video, and now you're all the way back to the original book, the first book of Carrie's that I read, and it changed my reading, it changed my life, and I will never be the same again because of this book. So this is very high up there on just my favorites in general. Also, I have a dog playing in the background, so just ignore any dog sounds that you may hear. Yeah, so this book, highly recommend it. It's YA, she has new adult, young adult. This is such a great series if you like thriller and mystery and a little bit of romance. I highly recommend it. Alright, this next book, if you guys know me, is my all-time favorite book. If you ask me what my favorite book was, would be this book. And it's Entwined, Heather Dixon. I read this in 7th grade, and I've reread it 10 times. It is my favorite. It's a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and it is so good, you guys. Literally so good. I've read it so many times, and I will probably never stop. I should probably, honestly, maybe I'll read this next because I'm kind of in a reading slump right now, and since I know I love it, maybe I'll just read it again. That's a great idea. Anyway, so Entwined, like I said, is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling who is in the point of view of the oldest daughter, Azalea, and this is kind of it's a dark retelling because she learns that her and her sisters and her father are living in this cursed castle that used to be extremely magical, but pretty much all the magic is gone away now, and she found the last little bit of it, but that last little bit of it isn't very good. So, dang, I'm just hyping myself up now. Maybe I might read this next. But if you like dark, retellings and a little bit of romance, I highly recommend this. I think I highly recommend this no matter what, because this is, readers talk about, how I can't choose a favorite book, and I can. This is my favorite book. I think you guys should all read this. If you like retellings, if you like anything to deal with, medieval, Renaissance time, princesses, magic, read this. Alright, you guys, the next book in this video is Mortal Heart, which is the 3rd book in the Grave Mercy trilogy. This is my favorite book of the trilogy. I read this in high school. I read Grave Mercy 3 times in middle school through high school, and this was such a good book. Aneth was my favorite sister in the series because they had Ismay, Cybella, and Aneth, and Aneth was my favorite. I loved the 3rd book so much. This was a good ending. You have those endings that are there should have been more, or there's just so much left out. This was probably the best ending to a book series one of the best I've ever read. So, like I said in my first video, this book series is about badass assassin nuns that are pretty much sent out to kill people that have marks from Death himself, and there's just so much political, it's not really political that it's gonna get to the point. It's more these women are having issues because their god Death is fading, and they have to figure out why. And little spoiler, they do figure out why in this book, but there's 3 books in 3 different point of views. So I highly suggest you read them all. Plus the duology Courting Darkness, which was super good. That happens after this series and also includes these main characters. So highly recommend any of Robin Lefevre's books, especially this series. Alright, the last book we have on this list is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is their newer book from the Hunger Games trilogy, and they're actually making it a movie. I'm so excited. This was probably one of my favorite Hunger Games books. I don't know what it was, but I was really captured in this world. I know it's in the point of view of President Snow, and something I really liked about this book is that he's always the bad guy. There's no redemption arc of him. He started out bad as a child and he's still bad as he grows up from teenager to man. So I love his arc. I loved his story, and I loved we got to see some familiar faces from the Hunger Games, and we kind of got to know some more origin stories. So that was really exciting, and honestly I think overall this was a really, really good book. I'm really glad she wrote it. She didn't have to write it, but I'm glad she did, because we got to meet new characters, we got to see old characters, and we got more lore for the series and got some clarification on some of the background of the original series. So that was super fun. If you read the original series, I think you should definitely read this, and honestly you don't have to read the original series to read this. I think you could read this as a standalone, and if you want to, I think you definitely should. Alright you guys, so these are my 5 books from my green selection. My green selection isn't that big, but obviously a little bit bigger than my orange and my yellow, so here is these. I really hope you guys liked this video. Comment down below what your favorite green books are. I'm sure there's way more out there that I could pick up. Like this video just to let me know that you're there, that you're liking what I'm doing. I would really appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel to see more bookish and writing videos from me. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!